This Liberty Sports Update is brought to you by Beacon Credit Union.
Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for coming. It's been an exciting day for us at Liberty football. And first, a lot of credit goes to Turner Gill, his staff. I thought they did an outstanding job of developing relationships with the young men and their families who chose to come with us today. So it was most of the credit goes to them. I got here and had 1 week and lost 2 days on snow day to go do home visits, and was able to get in a lot of homes. But it was evident to me that the work that had been done on the ground level between the staff and in all honesty, just the campus here. When the kids and their families got on campus and spent any time with our administration and with the support staff, and whether it be academics or nutrition or whatever that they experienced here was first class, and it certainly provided the stronghold that we needed to hold on during the change from Coach Gill to myself and to a new staff. So it's the credit really goes to this university, the leadership of it, and the former staff, because without that we don't get where we are. We were able to. They had 10 commitments. We held on to 9 of those. The other young man, I think we will still get, but he did not sign today, so we'll get in his home as soon as I can get back out and get out to the West Coast and spend some time with them. And so we 9 out of 10 for that is just remarkable. We signed 15 kids. Only 12 are going to make it public today, but we're in really good shape with every position. Our focus in the next recruiting cycle will be O-line and D-line. I feel very comfortable about the other positions and us feeling what we did there. I just can't tell you how much of a joy. We hadn't had much sleep, but the joy to be back in the grind of recruiting is and developing relationships, not only with just the players and their parents, but the fellow coaches and the people here in the administration here. Ian and his leadership with all the other guys has been absolutely phenomenal, and it's evident to me that everyone here is pulling the rope in the same direction and wants the same thing, and it's an honor to serve in a capacity that gets to somewhat lead the charge to make sure we get Liberty football where everyone desires it to be. Offensively, you have to start with a quarterback. In our system, our quarterbacks have had a lot of fun and put up a lot of crazy numbers, and we've just – Coach Daly, to his credit, identified a guy, Jonathan Bennett, and we were able to get in and spend some time with his mom, his aunt, his family there, that his grandmom, and I'm good with grandmoms because my grandma was my hero. So it was just we hit it off, and Jonathan came with us today. I think he's a talented kid, athletic, dual-threat guy, which I like to have because it makes us tougher to defend, and glad to have him. Receiver-wise, I don't know that we could have done any better with 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Some was credit to Kyle and the former staff, C.J. Yarborough out of Alabama. Just you guys did a magical job here. Matt Bevins is kind of organized most of the things, so give him credit too. But did a masterful job with that family. And I got into my home visit, and when the dad is decked out in Liberty gear that he bought from Walmart, you're feeling pretty good. When you walk in there, you're thinking, man, I just don't screw this up. We're going to get this kid, you know. And they were very familiar with the way receivers have played in our system and the success they've had at putting up great numbers and then moving on to the next level. And so we're thrilled to get him out of Alabama. Shadro Lewis is a kid that, and as is Treon Sibley, two ultra-talented. Just go watch their highlight video. You'll see what I'm referring to. Treon and Shadro both signed last year with Akron. For one reason or another, it did not work out for them to enroll, and we were able to get in on the ground level, be one of the first to get to them when I got here. And Shadro is a phenomenal punt returner, kick returner, slot, and Treon can do a little bit of everything from running back to wide out, and he's just a super talented kid. His granddad is just getting to know John Pinson over the short time that I did. I just really love what he stands for and the principled man that he is, and he fell in love with the mission of Liberty University. And so we're thrilled there. There's one more receiver that signed that we won't release until February, but we're excited to have him also. Braden Mundy, when I first got here and started watching tapes of recruits, I was like, I don't know who this kid is. I don't have a relationship with him, but we need to get him on the bus. And I don't know what seed he sets in just yet, because you watch his tape, and as an offensive guy, I want him at tight end, and then I watch his defensive film, and well, I'd like for him to sack the quarterback too. So he can do both. And had a great visit with he and his mom, Miss Leslie, is just the type of mom you want. Hopefully tomorrow I'm going to put out a thing she wrote about recruiting to parents, and it's the most well-written deal for parents that I think if you have a recruit that you're fixing to go through this recruiting process, I think every parent should read it because it's full of wisdom and sound advice. And we are thrilled to have both Braden and his mom, Leslie, in. And his sister's a heck of a talented musician, too. She played the piano and sang some songs for us while we were in the home, and I was just totally amazed. Defensively, Trayshawn Clark is a defensive end that's explosive and can really rush the passer, which you have to have. And we're thrilled to get him out of Cape Coral, and love his mom, Miss Sharita, and Christopher. They're just a solid family that he's going to be a asset, and I expect him to contribute pretty early. He has such a high motor, flexible. He was the MVP of the All-Star game last week in Florida. So we're thrilled to get him. Zach Emerson, a kid that's been committed here, and Ron, great guys. Got to meet with them, with the dad in the school, and then visit with Zach, and I think he's got another guy that's a potential to play both places, defensive line or tight end. He's just an athletic kid, and I think he could be 6'4", 215 right now, and could probably easily carry 240, 250. Devontae Lloyd out of Mississippi, a defensive tackle, a true nose guard, first and second down guy. I have great ties in Mississippi, obviously, and Coach Singletary had done a nice job getting in and identifying him, and I was able to get into his school and visit with his father on the phone. And they're just a Mississippi family, and I can kind of relate to those guys pretty well. And we were able to get him. He's from Meridian, Mississippi, but was playing at Northwest. And he's a true inside guy, run stopper that you have to have. Isaiah Avery came on his visit this past weekend. He's a really, really talented cornerback out of San Francisco City College. Mr. Vernon and Lisa, awesome parents. And I could tell probably about midway through Saturday morning here on the visit, we're going to get this kid because of the way Mom lit up with everything that goes on. Our academic people, Christy is as good as I've seen in making her presentation to them, and it just wows the parents, and they really wanted the standard that we will stress here to try to meet each and every day, really motivated them, and we're thrilled to get him. Local kid, Chris Meganson out of Heritage, Mr. Albert, Miss Benita, another great family. Again, I give credit to the people that have identified them. I think, they're just fit. When you talk about a Liberty fit, you can look at that family and say he is. And not only are they just a fit, but this guy is long. And you want some long DBs to play against these receivers they're having to play again. He's a local product. We like getting those when we have them, and thrilled to have him. Aubrey Williams, Josh Aldridge, one of our new coaches, really identified this kid out of Navy prep. He was scheduled to go to the Naval Academy. He's out of Georgia, Brunswick, and we were able to get him on a trip when we found out he was not returning. And this guy will strike you. He is physical and is one of the more solid tacklers. I coached Mike Hilton and Trey Elston at Ole Miss, and he reminds me a lot of Trey Elston and in his early years, and he started for us 4 years there, and I expect him to come in and compete. And Miss Meredith was a champ in that recruiting. Micah Glaze, another local product, a safety here out of Brookville. Chris and Nakia, they got to come on their visit with us, and Chris, and they were just all in and helping us recruit the other families because they were already committed. And so I give them great credit for helping put the rest of this class together as it went about. But they've been as was his stepmom, Miss Jasmine. So they're just a super family also. And then we got a specialist, Jason Stricker, out of Marvin Ridge in Charlotte. I spoke with his father this morning, and they just couldn't be more thrilled. And this is a kid that's on mission all the time to represent the Christian faith, and his dad is strong in the missions also, and that's great, and it represents us well. Now we just need to put that ball through the uprights every time we put him out there to do it. Hopefully we don't have to kick too many field goals, and it's more extra points than field goals. But we like the 3 when we have to get those also too. But I couldn't be more thrilled really with how the journey has started off here. It's been a whirlwind for me and my family, and you're a bit apprehensive. This is my first experience with a mid-year signing period, and to be quite candid, I didn't like it one bit, having just 1 week. But standing here today, I'm okay with it, and that should tell you that I think we did really well today. I wish I knew more about the young men that we've signed. But watching the tape, I'm not sure that we could have improved that a whole lot. And again, the credit goes to this great university and the leadership of it, and the former staff for the most part. So we're thrilled, ready to get them on campus, the ones that are mid-year, and then get the high school kids here in the summertime for the transition period, and get back to work. Before that, we'll hit the road again in January extremely hard, and try to get some bigger boys. It's one good thing is our focus can be very targeted, very limited as to who we're pursuing in the January period leading up to the February signing date, because of how well we fared today at the positions that we fared today well in. So D-line and O-line will be our focus moving forward. So if you're a D-lineman and an O-lineman and you haven't signed, and you want to visit one of the greatest universities in America that has your best interest at heart and will give you a chance to compete in football at the highest level, we're your place, and we look forward to meeting you. Any questions?
Coach, obviously you alluded to it, the last couple of weeks have been a whirlwind for you. Visited a lot of kids, you've watched a lot of tape, I'm sure, met with coaches. But that said, with everything that you've seen and observed, how does Liberty get better today with what you've been able to bring in?
Well, I think just depth. The 85 scholarship limit and them having to do the necessary things to get to that point last year. You probably had to take a few chances on kids, and I haven't evaluated our talent on our roster yet. But we get to evaluate these and add to us, and competition is what makes an FBS team really be able to compete on Saturdays. And if you don't have that competition throughout the week, or in the weight room in the off season, or in sprint work, or in tempo work, and even in the classroom, and it's just about competing to be the best you can be that day. And the more we add these guys to it, the more competition builds. Look, I've coached a lot of levels, and there is no greater motivator than a guy behind you that's pushing you. And when you don't have that, it's the tendency for most of us is for my ceiling to remain where it is. And until you get stressed to go beyond that ceiling, you kind of stay status quo. And one gift I think I have is stressing people to go beyond the ceiling that they have. And the biggest help I have is when I add guys like we added today that come in and push the guys, and we'll see how they respond. And you'll know a lot about what their ceiling is by the way they respond to competition.
Specifically, I guess along those lines, with bringing in a kid like Jonathan Bennett that is such a touted kid at quarterback, having a guy like Buckshot Calvert that's already set some records here, do you see those two pushing one another maybe for that job in spring?
The depth chart is etched in sand for me. I don't have any preconceived notions. Obviously, I know of Buckshot and what he's done. I had a good conversation with him on the phone 2 nights ago. He can spin it. I like that. But he's like everybody else. He's like me. I need somebody to push me and to be accountable at the highest standard that we set and to chase that standard every day. And I don't know him well enough to say what he's like in that regard, but I know that when we come back in January, he's going to get stressed, and I think he'll respond. I want him to. He's a senior. I mean, he's thrown for a lot of yards, so you got to say is his to lose for sure. And I think it's helpful too. I've never been afraid to play a second quarterback that may give you a different element to defend. Even if it's 5 plays a game, the defense the next week has to work on all of that. And anything I can do offensively that takes away from their prep time or limits it to where they have to do so many things to prepare for, I think is advantageous for us. And I don't know what our quarterback room really consists of right now other than Buckshot, but I do know Bennett can do some things too.
When I talked to Bennett on the phone earlier today, he said your in-home visit, even though he wasn't there, you stressed the importance to his family of enrolling early. And he had originally said he was, after Turner Gill retired, he was going to stay at Somerville. What was the message to him, his family, about enrolling early and giving him that opportunity to get a head start?
He told me that after the transition and my press conference. He was one of the first calls that I made, and at that point felt like he was going to wait. And at first it was a may or may not sign in early signing period and see what his options are, which I totally understand. And then that would obviously put him not enrolling in the spring. So I just went in and was pretty determined to, number one, convince him to come with Liberty and to stay with us and look at the facts. I mean, there's a lot of things that get thrown around in recruiting, some true, some not true, some very skewed. One thing that you cannot argue with is what the Liberty mission is, what they felt when they were on campus, and you can't argue with what stats say about someone's offense or defense or receiving. You can't argue with those things. And so I just put a quick plan together of, look, here's what has happened. This is fact, and being very transparent about myself, about any questions that they might have, and understanding that this place, what it's all about, but really outlining for them what that extra spring does for a young man. And, while he is a competitive dude and probably would work on his own some, there is no way he could duplicate the work he will have here sitting back home, not on a team, not in a scheduled. He could have a strength coach but it's not the same as working out with a team. So you have an opportunity to enroll mid-year. The first thing it does is it gives you a jump start academically. So why would you not take advantage of a university like Liberty that's willing to invest in you an extra semester? Man, you'll have your degree in 3.5 years, have eligibility left, and continue to play the game that you love, working on your master's or a second degree. And so that was one of the first things. The second thing is just the development of young men. These 18-year-old kids in a year his body's going to change so much. So get that extra season in the off-season program that is designed to really develop you as a football player. And so that was second. And number 3 is you're coming in with a new coach whose offense fits you. So you don't have to worry about that. We agree on that. It fits you. And you get to come in where I have very little preconceived notions of who the number one. I might have an idea who the number one is in Buckshot, but, man, beyond that, I really don't have an idea. And you come out to spring practice and you learn all the terminology, all the verbiage, all the system, and you roll into fall camp. You're not a freshman anymore. And you combine all of those 3 things together and the fact that we'll allow him to travel back for his prom, and we want him to do those things too that he wants to do. But you add all those things together, and I think it became pretty clear to them that it's advantageous for him to come mid-year.
You've mentioned that the previous coaching staff was very instrumental to this December signing day. Would it be a fair statement to say that maybe your first recruiting pitch was to some of those guys to get them to buy into you and to believe in you to hit the ground running?
No, that's probably not accurate, and I think this speaks to the character of those coaches. Not one time did, and they're in a very uncertain position. We all know that when we sign up for this job. I've been on both sides of it, but not one time did I ever have to encourage or, hey, let me try to maneuver, or not one time did I ever have to try to pry them for help. They're texting, hey, what can I do? Can I go with you? can I meet you at the school? And again, I just think that speaks so highly to the character of those men and the way Coach Gill, developed his staff. It was. I told somebody the other day that I've taken over 4 programs now. This one's in the best shape, obviously win, loss, or whatever you want to say, than the others. But I have never sat down with a staff when I come in to where the absolute love and passion for a place was as great as this was. Never. And that's it was far and away more in this staff with one by one. And usually when you do that, it's more about, well, let me sell myself to the new head coach. And this was much more about, look, I want to stay here because of what Liberty has done for me and my family and the impact it's had on me. So I was blown away with their willingness to accept me and to move forward with an uncertainty of what the future holds.
8 of the 13 who signed today made it public are on the defensive side. Was that an area that the previous staff told you was an area of need going into the signing period?
No one really told me that. I think basically what I was forced to do is just come in and look at the roots that they had developed with relationships with the kids, and it just kind of happened to be that way. But as I've gone through the week and you look at the depth chart and you look at our numbers, every team's going to carry a certain number of, we're going to carry 10 wide receivers, we're going to carry 15 offensive linemen, we're going to carry 16 defensive linemen. So anybody can look at that and say, well, if we're going to carry 16 defensive linemen and we only have 9 on scholarship now, that's an area of need. So that determines that much more than anybody telling me. I had to adjust a few things. We don't carry a fullback, in our stuff, and they had some scholarships that we'll adjust some in times to come. But to me, I keep that chart. That's my first chart when I open my master book. That's the roster management is the first thing I always see, and that tells me everything I need to know about the needs as far as numbers. You don't pass up a great player if you find a way, but it tells you where your needs are.
Specifically with Glaze and Megan, again, you touched on the local talent. How important is that for a program like Liberty to be able to strongly have that brand here in town, and then also with a kid like Meganson that was part of a state championship team? What does that bring?
I think that's it's important if they can play. I think Liberty brand, whether you have, if there's a local kid that can play, we don't want to lose him to anybody, period. But the Liberty brand is going to be based on what we put on that field, and whether they're from California or Hawaii or Samoa or wherever we go to get them, that's what will determine our brand, and it won't be based on, well, he didn't have local kids and they won 7, 8 games and won the bowl game. Everybody's coming to see that. So to me, it's important that we win the battles for local talent when they can play, and these two certainly can, and we're thrilled that Marshall Roberts did a great job recruiting locally here. And so we're thrilled to have those, and we want to hold on to local talent. I don't think long-term local talent is the only thing you need to be the level we want to be. But when we do have one, we want to win it.
I believe 5 of these guys are mid-year enrollees. Is that something that you pushed for to try to get these guys in as soon as possible?
Man, anytime I can get an extra semester with a young man academically and athletically and socially, and just I'm all for it. And we had a few spots for mid-year, so we'd like to fill them. So yeah, we're always looking for great mid-year guys, and a couple of those are 4 for 3s or 4 for 4s, and that's even better.
With Shedro and Treyon, you feel like anything that might have happened with what they did going to previous schools has been resolved and they're good to go now?
Yeah, well, one of them just did not get admitted. He was a qualifier, but there was a rule in the university that he signed with on the cumulative GPA had to be a bit higher, and that's a rare thing when your cumulative's the same as your core. And so that was just a weird deal with him. So he never enrolled at the other school. Neither did Shedro, was 1 class short. And so that's we were just fortunate that I had some ties to the staff that knew them, and I was the one they chose to pass the names on to first, and there was only one weekend visit left, and we were able to get them here.
Stricker's listed as kicker/punter. Is it too early to say whether you see him maybe getting a chance at both spots?
Yeah, I have no clue. We're going to play the best kid at both of them, and that'll get shaken out in the first part of fall camp in the season. But it brings competition to the specialist, and we depend on them to provide a winning edge for us, and we got to play the best one.
Part of Turner Gill's plan for recruiting was to go a little bit heavier on the JUCO ranks this year because of having, I believe, 22 scholarship seniors for this upcoming year to kind of bridge the gap to the 2020-21 class. Did you take that into consideration, or did you go just for the best athletes who could help you win?
The best athlete. I think you have to manage your numbers some. Obviously, you don't want everybody as juniors and seniors, but I'm going to lean toward the best athlete first. And if I know I have 4 years with a better athlete than a 2-year gap, I'll take that 4-year. You have to project his development, too, and that's hard sometimes. You're not always right. But it was a little late for me, really, to jump in the JUCO race if we didn't already have, some relationships there. I think there's still 2 possibilities that did not sign today that I think we're we're in the race. I've just got to get out there and see them.
I think you mentioned Coach Aldridge earlier. Are you able to make any comments on any staffing additions?
I don't think so. I think we have to wait on human resources and the process to take its place there. So a little early for that.
Coach Gill is all about speed on his defensive side of the ball. What's kind of your philosophy defensively? What kind of recruits are you going to look for?
Yeah, I think speed's good anytime you can get it. But I do think you have to look. The game it typically is controlled or won at the line of scrimmage. If your D line can control the line of scrimmage, you've got a good chance at winning that football game. And you need speed off the edge for sure, but you need some guys in the middle that can take 2 up most any play that you choose to put them in a gap or a 2-gap situation. So I think it's a mixture, but on the back end, absolutely, speed is advantageous.
Being able to get on the road this past week and a half and get into a lot of different homes, what was your impression, or maybe some of the other people's impressions, of just the Liberty brand in general and where it's at right now?
Again, I give credit to the people that already developed the relationships. But I saw in one weekend here, if you get a family on campus, in particular one that has some type of faith background, but even ones that may not, deep inside they're searching for something that may say, man, I really want that. I really want to know more about that. And this place sells itself once you get them on campus. So the Liberty brand is strong. We're going to make it stronger, and it's nationwide, and so it does that for itself.
A lot of the recruits on social media, whether you made it in a home visit or a phone call, said they were all in after getting a chance to hear you after it was announced you were hired. How important was that for you to make those connections and reassure them about Liberty and what your mission was? Because I believe Zach Amerson said that your vision for this program of getting to bowl games, winning to bowl games, was a big thing for him as well.
I have to be who I am. I've been able to really study myself, and I know what my strengths are. I know what my weaknesses are, and I know where I need help. And but one thing I've always been able to believe in is the vision that I have for a program. And I think I have a gift to be able to say, here's the direction, here's the plan, and now I'm going to stress you every day to meet that standard, whether it's coaches or whether it's players or myself. To meet that standard every day. We don't every day, but we'll get up the next morning and try it again and play the next play. And I've been unashamedly saying that, the goal for year one is for us to go play in a bowl game. And time will tell if we're able to do that or not. But I won't back down from that, and I think kids appreciate that candor and straightforwardness. That look, this is what we're going to strive to do, but it's going to take an enormous amount of commitment and sacrifice and hard work. And if you're looking for a place that is not about chasing that every day, this is probably not a good place for you. And I'm very I like for people just to hit me straight in between the eyes on what they perceive to be the truth of the matter, and I've been done that way a lot. I don't have to agree with it, and they don't have to agree with me, but I do know I'm able to show them, again, things that are facts, that this has taken place at this place, at Lambeth, at Arkansas State, at Ole Miss, and I expect it to take place here at Liberty based on the vision and the plan, and me being a driving force behind it with the great support of the administration.
Going back to the staff, I know you said that there was still some HR stuff going on right now, but is that kind of the next step here over the next week or so, is just try to solidify all that? And do you have a timeline or when you think you might have an announcement on that?
That is the next step. It's a very difficult process for me personally. One of the things I've really prayed for over the last year and a half is humility and compassion. And this job doesn't always tend to lean toward feeling like you're being compassionate. And I'm in a unique position where I have a lot of great coaches that I know what they can do from my past, that I know could help us achieve what we want to achieve here. And I'm been spending the last 8, 9, 10 days with a group of men and young men that I'm impressed with. So it's very difficult.
Any further questions for Coach? All right, Coach, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you guys.